What if the next world war was over before anyone could fight back? China's ambitions toward Taiwan have simmered for decades, but the stakes are higher than ever. With rapid military growth, cyber dominance, and economic pressure, Beijing already has the tools for a lightning-fast strike. The question isn't whether China wants Taiwan, it's whether the world could stop it. On today's episode of the Infographics Show, we're showing how China will take over Taiwan in 7 days, and no one can stop it. Day 1. China's President Xi Jinping gives the order, putting a plan that has been many years in the making into action. 1 week from now, Taiwan will be under complete Chinese control, as long as everything goes as planned. But the first step isn't to fire missiles, launch rockets, or send in the troops. No, it's something much sneakier, something that Taiwan and its allies won't see coming. A ruthlessly efficient cyber attack designed to cripple communications and disrupt the region's most important services. Because today's battlefields aren't just physical. Warfare isn't only reserved for towns, cities, fields, seas, skies, and trenches. It can also take place in cyberspace, across computers and connected networks. The same networks much of the modern world relies on for business, banking, communication, and so much more. China has honed its cyber warfare capabilities in recent years. It's now widely regarded as one of the world's leading players in cyber operations. It has entire units, like the People's Liberation Army Cyberspace Force, dedicated to cyber defenses. China also has unofficial armies of state-backed hacking groups, many of which have carried out espionage and data theft attacks in the past. The U.S. State Department has acknowledged the massive threat that Chinese cyber attacks could pose to even the most sophisticated cyber defenses. The intelligence community knows that critical services in the U.S., like oil and gas pipelines, are firmly in China's cyber crosshairs. If the U.S., with all its intelligence and advanced technology, could easily fall victim to Chinese cyber strikes, then Taiwan has almost no chance. And that is exactly what China is counting on. It deploys its armies of hackers, instructing them to focus on the most important fundamental targets and services powering Taiwan's society and economy. Following the PLA doctrine of disrupting information infrastructure to achieve information dominance over the region, major internet networks and cellular communication systems start to crumble in the wake of China's cyber strength. Distributed denial of service or DDoS attacks bring down important online platforms like banking websites and media platforms. Power grids begin to feel the heat, and over the course of a single day, extraordinary amounts of damage are done. Taiwan had prepared for cyber attacks. It set up the Information Communication Electronic Force Command in 2017, specifically to handle cyber defenses and find ways to fend off electronic warfare attacks. Taiwan also has expanded its satellite backup communication systems just in case its primary power sources are disrupted or taken out. Unfortunately, none of this proves sufficient in stopping China's attacks. Taiwan's internet infrastructure, despite some recent advancements, pales in comparison to China's digital might. It simply cannot withstand the enemy's relentless attacks. The population plunges into a state of panic. Websites stop working, cell phones are suddenly cut off, internet networks become unreliable at first and unusable later on. News and media reports emerge explaining that Taiwan is the target of an unprecedented campaign of cyber warfare. The first rumors of Chinese responsibility begin to emerge, but China's agents are already on the case. They take to major social media networks and use bots to spread misinformation and muddy the waters. This spreads confusion and distrust not just in Taiwan, but across the globe. Nobody knows for sure what has happened or what might occur next. China's plan, however, has only just begun, and it's about to up the ante. Day 2. On Day 2, China moves beyond cyber warfare and into full-blown physical attacks against Taiwanese targets. Its objective is to quickly and efficiently eliminate Taiwan's ability to defend itself while cutting the island off from the rest of the world, without the need for any Chinese boots on the ground at the moment. Boasting one of the most diverse and developed missile programs in the world, China has a vast and varied arsenal of ballistic and cruise missiles to call on, including some that can travel thousands of miles and cross entire seas and oceans to strike their targets. However, given that Taiwan is barely 100 miles away from the Chinese mainland, the PLA wouldn't have to resort to its medium or long-range missiles. Instead, China could lean on its short-range arsenal. Ballistic missiles like the DF-11 and DF-15 are built for rapid strikes on nearby targets. Complementing them are the cruise missiles like the CJ-10, with a range of 1,240 miles and the ability to carry warheads over 1,100 pounds. Firing from a mixture of land, air, and sea platforms, China's missiles would be accompanied by other aerial threats: drones, The country has assembled not just a stellar array of missiles, but also one of the biggest and most varied drone forces on the planet. Following the example set by Russia in its invasion of Ukraine, Chinese forces send dozens, if not hundreds of drones toward Taiwan. Among the swarms are reconnaissance and surveillance drones like the BZK-005s and the WZ-7 Soaring Dragons. They help to paint a picture of the battlefield and provide all important intelligence to Chinese command posts. China also deploys armed combat drones to take out both ground and naval targets with precision, like CH-series and Wing-Long drones. Using vast swarms, it rapidly overwhelms Taiwanese aerial defenses and saturates its radar systems. The missiles follow behind, many of them bypassing Taiwan's air defenses and successfully striking their targets. Targets include ports and airfields, which Taiwan might have used to launch ships and planes in an attempt to fight back. Radar sites and air defenses are also targeted, further crippling the country's defensive capacities. In a matter of hours, the region is dramatically weakened and struggles to mount any sort of serious defense. China also seizes this opportunity to damage and sabotage the all-important undersea cables that power Taiwan's global communication systems. Using gray zone tactics, Chinese forces cut off the connections, further isolating Taiwan and spreading additional fear and panic among the population. They are now fully aware that their home is under attack. Bit by bit, Taiwan is severed from the rest of the world and begins to slip into China's grasp. By now, the rest of the world is aware of what's happening, and the ongoing situation dominates news headlines far and wide. National leaders quickly issue calls for peace and de-escalation, but China ignores the pleas of the Western world. It has a plan, and it intends to see it through to the end. Day 3. By day 3, China's first strike paralysis strategy has effectively blinded Taiwan. It is cut off and alone. The country's allies barely know what's going on and have been caught completely off guard thanks to the swift and sudden timing of China's strike. Now Beijing is ready to push its advantage and continue to capitalize on the state of panic and confusion all across Taiwan. It's flexed its muscles in cyber and drone warfare, but now it's time to demonstrate its power at sea. It deploys ships from its enormous navy, the largest in the world, all heading for Taiwan. The aim is to encircle the main island and send a clear and definitive message: there is no escape. Taiwan has some strong allies and reasonable defenses of its own for a relatively small place, but it can't compete with the almost unmatched might of the Chinese Navy. With more than 750 assets in total, including 3 aircraft carriers, 4 helicopter carriers, more than 60 submarines and 50 destroyers, China's maritime force is enormous. Taiwan, meanwhile, has a relatively small naval force. It has less than 100 assets, including 4 destroyers, 4 submarines, and 37 patrol vessels. It is outgunned, outmatched, and outmaneuvered. Taiwanese commanders struggle to formulate any kind of effective plan to counter China's aggression. Meanwhile, the island's leaders attempt to contact allies around the world for support. However, because of the cyber attack, this proves difficult. Taiwan is unable to enjoy any kind of consistent communications with the outside world, unsure when or even if anyone else will come to its aid. Around the world, the national leaders are fed real-time information from the rapidly evolving situation in East Asia. They, like Taiwan, had anticipated an eventual Chinese assault on the island, but they hadn't expected it to happen this quickly and suddenly. Caught off guard, they're already playing catch-up. Using what measures available, they try to gain a clear understanding of what is actually happening on the ground, air, and water around Taiwan. But time is moving quickly, and so are China's forces. Leaders feel pressure to make quick decisions, but with the risk of an all-out war with China on their minds, they are fearful to commit to a single plan. All they can do is watch, while China confidently surges forward. The nation's latest fighter jets take to the skies over Taiwan. Bomber squads stalk alongside them, threatening to rain down fire and destruction at a moment's notice. China's cognitive tactics begin to take their toll, and with no allies on the horizon to help, the Taiwanese people become increasingly isolated and helpless. Some feel nationalistic pride and try to defend the only home they've ever known. Others feel helpless and simply submit to the invading force and accept their imminent and seemingly inevitable fate. Day 4. Day 4 is about restrictions, cutting off any flow of supplies, people, or resources to and from the main island of Taiwan. This further cements the region's isolation, compounding the confusion and fear of its people. All of this helps China to finish the mission without any external interference or interruptions. The Chinese ships start to take up their positions around the island in the East and South China Seas. Their objective is to form a sort of exclusion zone around the island. While other countries would lack the necessary naval strength to pull off something like this, China has more than enough to make it look easy. As the ships take up their places, supported by Chinese jets and bombers from above, the entire area becomes off-limits, not only to Taiwan but to everyone else. Commercial shipping routes in or around the area are halted immediately. No country wants to risk their vessels getting damaged or worse, destroyed if they get too close. This restricts the flow of food and other important supplies to the island. Cargo traffic stops, and international flights are also canceled or diverted away from the area. Meanwhile, fears rise inside Taiwan of food and fuel shortages. The panic that had been boiling up among the population erupts. Families desperately flock to stores and marketplaces to stock up on the food and water they need to survive. Many flee the big cities and head for rural regions, hoping to hide out with friends and family until the situation calms down or Allied forces arrive to assist them. Markets, too, go into a state of chaos. The entire world watches and waits. Millions of people glued to their TV sets and smartphones, fearful of the next big headline or announcement. China's hackers, meanwhile, are still hard at work on social media and other online platforms, spreading mistruths and falsehoods, controlling the narrative of the ongoing drama. China's leadership issues a stark warning to the rest of the world. Any intervention or attempt to enter the Taiwan Strait will be seen as a declaration of war. China is ready, willing, and able to respond accordingly. This only makes life harder for the world leaders. Anything perceived as an act of aggression could make the situation much, much worse, potentially putting their own people at risk. While the US wants to take action, its carriers are thousands of miles away. Europe's militaries are stretched thin, meaning that any attempt at intervention will take time. And time is something that is rapidly running out. Day 5. With dominance established in the sea and the air, China takes the next step. Boots on the ground. It's time to control the region once and for all. Amphibious assault ships, which had previously been stationed mere miles from the coastlines of Taiwan, begin to advance toward the territory. Roll-on and roll-off ferries move into position, hundreds of Chinese PLA troops on board, fully armed and ready to disembark and take Taiwan by storm. Airborne assaults also reinforce the ground landings, giving Taiwan little room to maneuver and almost no chance of fending off or delaying the invasion. China also moves strategically, positioning the majority of its ground forces along the western coast of Taiwan. The local geography makes it easier for the invading forces to quickly gain ground and assert themselves. Even civilian ferries are pressed into service, moving scores of troops quickly across the relatively narrow Taiwan Strait. In a matter of hours, Taiwan is no longer just facing up to aerial assaults and naval threats. It faces the unprecedented and insurmountable danger of thousands of Chinese troops on its soil, ready to wreak havoc. The various squads will each have their orders. Some are urged to dig in and fortify coastal positions like the major Taiwanese ports in areas like Taipei, Taichung, Anping, and Budai. Others will be tasked with pushing further inland, beating down any signs of resistance among the local population, or countering any attempts at the Taiwanese military to fight back. Taiwan's soldiers don't go down without a fight. The country's military does what it can to strike at Chinese forces, but with a significantly weaker force, the Taiwanese people are unable to mount much of a serious defense. They're able to damage or even destroy some of the incoming Chinese ships, but more follow soon after. It's all thanks to China's massive manpower advantage. With over 2 million active-duty personnel and 500,000 more in reserve, Taiwan's air defenses are already out of action due to earlier bombardments, and the country has no answer to the various airborne and helicopter brigades that soar across its airspace. The enemy forces touch down to seize important highways, communication hubs, airports, and other key locations. Allies are still far from providing any kind of significant aid, and China is days, if not hours away from enjoying complete control over the island. Day 6. Chinese ground forces move with startling precision, suggesting that this attack was perfectly planned and several years in the making. Everything has been prepared with the utmost precision, every detail thought about and fine-tuned, every eventuality explored and accounted for. Every Chinese unit knows its role and understands its part that it has to play in helping its homeland achieve its end goals. Some focus on paralyzing Taiwan's defenses even further, while others rush to political and economic centers. More seek to gain control of critical infrastructure, dramatically limiting Taiwan's ability to resist. Many of the Chinese troops head to Taiwan's capital, Taipei. They focus on the most important targets necessary to take control of the region and demoralize the people. Their targets include the presidential office building in downtown Taipei, along with nearby government buildings where the executive yuan and legislative yuan operate. Ministries also come under fire and control, including the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of National Defenses. Local government offices are attacked, not just in Taipei but other cities across the region, such as Kaohsiung and Taichung. In the blink of an eye, Taiwan's regional coordination is completely dismantled, its authorities broken down, its governmental workforce removed from their duties. This allows China to essentially cut the head of the region's political leadership and introduce a new administration, one that is loyal and subservient to Beijing. Chinese troops also flock to military bases and command centers around the country to mitigate any remaining risk of rebellions or military action against them. They rush into locations like the Hengshan Military Command Center in Taipei, Taiwan's main military nerve center, along with air bases in locations like Taichung, Pingtung, and Hualien. Naval bases are taken over too, bringing Taiwan's naval operations to a grinding halt. And any missile defense systems and radar sites not yet destroyed are also captured and neutralized. The same goes for the likes of power plants, TV and radio stations, telecommunications and internet hubs, data centers, railway stations, and major companies. Within the space of just a couple of days, China has claimed full control of Taiwan's government, military, and major industries. The region is at the mercy of Beijing, with no alternative, no way out. By this time, at least some of the Allied forces have moved closer to the area, but world leaders are still hesitant to take any direct action. They can see how quickly and ruthlessly China has taken control, and they are well aware that Beijing is more than capable of dealing serious damage. It could, for instance, make use of its world-leading hypersonic DF-17 missiles to target U.S. air bases across Asia. This would deal a major blow to the American military should the U.S. make the bold call to intervene at this tumultuous stage. Moving up to 10 times faster than the speed of sound and boasting exceptional levels of agility and mid-air maneuverability to easily evade interceptor missiles, DF-17s would have little trouble striking their targets. Allies quickly come to the conclusion that their only hope of saving Taiwan at this stage is to build more significant forces, amassing greater numbers of ships and aircraft, and establishing logistics hubs around the region. But with China announcing the takeover of the Taiwanese government, the Allies' window of opportunity is quickly closing. Day 7. The takeover is complete. By the time any Allied reinforcements are close enough to take action, China is already in the process of announcing a new status quo in Taiwan. The former government has been deposed, new leaders are put into place, and the process of unification between China and Taiwan begins. In the span of a single week, everything has changed. Taiwan's command and control have been severed, its communications cut, its logistics undone, its transport halted, and its people have little option but to accept their new way of life. While some small pockets of rebellion may exist, none are large enough to make any dent on China's authority or challenge the island's new leadership. Around the world, leaders condemn China's actions, call for de-escalation, and state that they will not recognize Chinese authority in Taiwan. But behind closed doors, those same heads of state are now forced to accept the reality and know they have no feasible way of doing anything about it now. They have been left powerless by the speed and sheer ruthlessness of China's attack. Beijing holds hundreds of nuclear warheads and possesses one of the biggest forces in the world. It's capable of taking drastic and devastating action to achieve its goals. The risks of further conflict or even a spiral into nuclear war are simply too great to ignore. As such, the external condemnations and possible interventions soon die down. China raises its flag in Taipei, having at long last accomplished its quest to conquer the island and change the geopolitical face of Asia forevermore. China might be able to seize Taiwan in just 7 days, but the real question is how America would answer. Watch how US will respond if China invades Taiwan to uncover the moves that could decide the war, or click on this video instead.